Welcome to our recap for round number 9. The big news of the day is that I lost my bet to Vishy about how many decisive games there would be in the open section. Vishy said there would be 1 decisive game. I said there would be 2. For some strange reason, I lost this bet. It's only Vidit was able to beat Nakamura, and Jan defended his quite dangerous position against Perugia, and Fabi could not make any progress against Abbasov either. So in the open standings, we still have Jan Nepomniachtchi and Gukesh leading the tournament at +2. Prague is following them at +1. But now Naka is sharing 4th to 6th place with Vidit, who beat him, and Fabiano, who he beat in the previous round. In the women, we had Tan take back the lead with a very fast victory with the black pieces over Vaishali. Just wasn't Vaishali's game, and I'm sure Tan wasn't expecting such a fast victory. The other games, it didn't really look like they were going towards decisive results. So we have Tan atop the women's standings, and she's followed by Garyechkina and Lei at 5.5, and Lagno 1 point behind her. So these 4 ladies are still the best poised in order to win this tournament. Vishy, congratulations, for your big achievement today.
Yes, thank you. There was a moment when I thought I wasn't going to win a bet, but I must admit, it didn't seem likely that you were going to get your 3 wins, though.
Right.
Though you finally bargained down to 2.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, why don't you walk us through that big game that Vidit, where Vidit beat Hikaru.
Okay. So, Hikaru went for a combative setup in the Italian. This is well known, but still it involves black creating some weaknesses, but also very sharp tactical game. With it, knew what he was doing, and they played a lot of quiet moves. Then finally he struck with d4, and this happened. So queen d1, knight f4. At first we were a little bit surprised that Hikaru didn't do this. Why give the pawn? It could be that there are some small advantages to work with, but Hikaru sacrificed the pawn. Now, this is by no means the end of the world, but it was based on a simple mistake. He captured on e5, and evidently he had just missed this simple move. Sometimes these things escape your attention. We were locked in trying to make knight g4 work somewhere and so on. But just a simple move, won a pawn. Captured, queen e6. Rook d3 happened. Knight f4, and after rook d6, Hikaru is basically lost. He managed to do this, and after rook h6, it is over. Whether he missed something or not, the position was already bad, and as they say, in a bad position, all moves are bad, so it's hard to criticize anything. But after queen b2, both queen g4 and with its move, which is even stronger, queen d7, basically shut down the game immediately. Hikaru had to come back to defend that pawn, because the only way to defend it. And after queen f5, Hikaru made one more move before resigning. So after yesterday's really disappointing loss, where Vidit was almost unrecognizable, very, very impressive that he was able to come back in this way and beat basically one of the best players in the world. And someone who himself had started his leap yesterday after beating Fabiano Caruana. Just shows how difficult this tournament is. No one seems to be safe. Vidit comes back to 50% and joins Nakamura there. Pragnananda is alone on +1. And Gukesh and Nepomniachtchi keep their +2.
Vishy, is there one player who is undefeated in the open section?
Jan is undefeated.
That's right. He's the only one, right? Everyone else has suffered one loss.
But he's been in trouble. And I've been telling Irina every day that It's not that he gets out of trouble. It's that he doesn't even seem to be affected by it. He gets out so easily. Today, there were a couple of fascinating moments. There are too many choices in the opening to discuss, but basically from some close position like this, they took the very interesting decision to... Here, Firuzha did something interesting. He captured on d6, captured on d7, and shut the position. So now we have a situation where black played f6, white played g4, and it's quite interesting. The bishops of opposite colors and almost every single pawn on opposite colors as well. So fascinating position. h4, king e7, rook e2. Not entirely clear to me why he didn't start with g5, but I'll just get to the interesting moment. Bishop g8. And here there are two possible plans. Both white could play g6. Now this seems paradoxical because we are shutting down the entire board. And where's white's winning attempt? Well, it was my case that the bishop on g8 is dead. It has no squares to come out. And because of it, the rook on h8 is trapped as well. And I was making the case that you could bring this rook here through a roundabout way to the square. And once both rooks are on the b file, you could break b4. And even though white would lose his bishop, he would be up because these two pieces were trapped. I don't know if this winning plan was in fact winning or it couldn't be executed. What Firuzha did as well was very convincing. He went for h5, bishop h7, and plugged the rook here. So Jan then defended with this, bishop h4, rook f8. And once again, we are stuck in a position where it's not easy to see how you can break through. I thought that the bishop could come here and slowly we play c3 and then execute some pawn breaks. Again, it's beyond the scope to cover this instantly, and I'm sure there are lots and lots of subtleties, but some very, very interesting moments in both games. But once they got to this position, Alireza decided there was no point gambling anymore because the black king is now quite safe, and if white opens up the position, maybe he loses. So they agreed a draw. Once again, Jan takes a position which was very difficult and makes an effortless draw. So Jan keeps his lead. Gukesh stays in the joint lead with him, and only Vidit improves his position at the expense of Nakamura.
Yeah.
Would you like to take us through the women's section?
Okay, the big game of the day in the women's was the fact that Tan won with the black pieces. And basically, she tried to play a Sicilian and was met with the C3 Sicilian, which quickly transposed into a French. So this structure reminded me a bit of the game between Nepo and Abasov from yesterday. Things were developing pretty smoothly, but then she decides to go on the attack without having these queenside pieces developed. And probably overall, this aggressive strategy is like ultimately what backfires. Because it was not so easy to play her position, and Tan was making some very natural moves like developing pieces, threatening small tactics, and somehow Vaishali's position just was getting bad. I mean, I guess this move undermining this pawn was a really big problem for her, and she lost this position within a few moves. I mean, the main issue is that this pawn is going to be captured at some point. She didn't find a way to hold the balance here, and already she's in very bad shape. She moves the knight, loses the pawn, she's forked, and then she gets forked again. And here, you know, there's nothing to be done since the two rooks are in a fork. I mean, that was a very fast run through the game because it was only 21 moves. Yeah.
So Vaishali in some sort of crisis, but Tan Zhongyi regains the lead from yesterday that she lost yesterday and is back in first place. Let's take a look at the standings.
Yeah, Tan is in first place in the women, and we have Jan and Gukesh leading the open. So We still have 5 more rounds left to play. It is completely unclear who is best positioned to win this tournament.
Yes, we have a lot of people in sniffing distance. So, and given the fact that, as I observed, no one seems to be really safe here, and everyone is, I think, at least playing good chess. Maybe they don't see themselves as being in the best of form, but everyone's playing good chess here, and therefore anything could still happen.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that the tail enders, Firouzja and Abbasov have stopped losing.
Yes.
And that matters a great deal for how this tournament goes, because suddenly they are not free points for their opponents, and none of the games can be taken for granted. So we're going to be back tomorrow for round number 10. And tomorrow is a special day because it's actually the final day that Vishy is going to be commentating here with us in Toronto. This is special and sad at the same time, but that's why you don't want to miss it. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 2:30 Eastern Time.
See you.